Okay, so now we're moving on to parallel and perpendicular lines and the relationships their slopes have. Again, this is a review, so I wanted to respect your time. For those of you that remember and understand, then you're going to fly right through, and those of you who need a little more practice, you can do so. So to find the slopes, remember we're counting the rise over the run. So starting with this dark line, we rise 3, we run to the left 4, so that would be 3 over negative 4. For the gold line, we rise 3, we run to the left 4, so we have the same slope. Well, that is the conclusion here, that parallel lines have an equal slope or the same slope. So be sure to write that down in the space provided. So if we're finding the slope of a line parallel, all we're doing is finding the same slope. So pause it and then check your answers. So these would be the parallel slopes. And don't forget that those y-equal lines are your horizontal lines that have a slope of 0. Very tricky. Perpendicular, again, we're going to count the rise over the run to find the slope. So this dark line, we go down 3 to the right 4. So that will be a negative 3/4 slope. And for the gold line, we go up 4 to the right 3. So that would be a positive 4/3 slope. So if you remember, perpendicular lines, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. The opposite part refers to the sign. The reciprocal is a flipping of the fraction. The 3/4 compared to 4/3 is the reciprocal. The opposite is the positive versus a negative slope. So what will be the opposite reciprocal of all of these? You don't have this on your paper, so you can just be thinking about it. If the number one's negative, this opposite would be a positive. The reciprocal would be 8/7. Number 2, if it's a positive 4, the opposite would be negative 1/4. Number 3, the opposite would be positive 10, or positive 10/1. Number 4, 1 is the same as 1/1, so the opposite would be negative 1/1, or a negative 1. Number 5, the opposite is negative, the reciprocal is 8/13. Number 6, the opposite is positive, the reciprocal is 2/, It is positive, but it's 1/2. So go ahead and find the opposite reciprocals of these slopes and be ready to check your answers. So I think A, B, and D were probably pretty simple. Remember that C is an undefined slope line, so that's a vertical line. So a perpendicular line would be a horizontal line, which is a y-equals line or a slope of 0. So undefined and 0, those are perpendicular of each other because it's a horizontal line and a vertical line, which are perpendicular. Something that you just kind of need to be aware of, if two lines are parallel to the same line, then they're parallel to each other. So this is kind of that transitive property of equality. If A and C are parallel, and C and B are parallel, then A and B are also parallel. Also, if two lines are perpendicular to the same line, then they're parallel to each other. So because T is perpendicular to both of these, then these are parallel. And then also if a line is perpendicular to one of the two parallel lines, then it's perpendicular to the other. So that's kind of like the converse of what we just talked about. So if I know that P and M are parallel and N is perpendicular to this one, it has to also be perpendicular to the other one because those two are parallel. So a couple things. Is E parallel to F? That would be yes, because if these are both perpendicular to H, then these have to both be parallel. Is E parallel to G? That would be yes, because if these two are parallel and then these two are parallel, then these two must be parallel. And then is H perpendicular to G? That would be yes, because if these are all parallel and it's perpendicular to these two, it has to be perpendicular to the last one. So this next part is determining if lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So remember, parallel has the same slope. Perpendicular has the opposite reciprocal. And if it doesn't apply to either one of them, then their slope, or they don't have a relationship, either relationship. So go ahead and try these on your own and then check back for your answers. All right, so go ahead and check your answers. I have each slope written corresponding to the correct equation, and then as well as whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So parallel, I use the parallel symbol to the vertical lines. Neither, I use an X. And then F is perpendicular, and it's not writing for some reason, so F is perpendicular. If you have questions on this, please let me know. And then the final thing is you need to decide on the last two problems if those are parallel lines, I believe is what it says. So go ahead and do those last two problems on your own, and we're going to talk about those together in class in just a little bit. Once you finish with this, go ahead and work on the packet. You do not have a feedback question form for right now because you're in class with me, so if you have a question, you're supposed to be asking me a question. So the bottom two questions, you're just going to find out if those are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So you're going to have to find the slopes using a table of some kind, finding the slopes of those points. And that is it.